Ya pueden salir de acá, por favor. Octavito, entro en una reunión, a ver. Y toquen su instrumento. ¿Cuántas veces estoy repitiendo de ya 3 veces? Ya, póngase ahí y sale acá. ¿Ya?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
I dropped the link for the attendees list or for the meeting notes in the chat, so they can also find a nice spot for adding yourself to the attendee list.
Hello.
Nikki, you're not getting rest?
Yeah, I wanted to see the demo.
Oh, okay, you're good. I'm just joking.
How's everyone doing?
Good, thank you. Hope you had good travels.
Okay. Give everyone 1-2 more minutes. anyone who would like to take the notes for today?
I can take notes. Are you going to lead the meeting, Max?
Yeah, I have to leave, unfortunately, in round about 25 minutes. That's why.
So is that a yes or no? I can lead or I can take notes. Whatever you all care for.
I would be glad if you can lead. I will happily take the first 20 minutes in notes, and maybe then someone else got ready to take the other half an hour. That would be fantastic.
Okay, sounds good. We're already recording, so I'm just going to share my screen. If Zoom will allow it. Is this the window? I believe, pardon me. Okay, so just wanted to go ahead and start out with the contributor code of conduct. This is how many CNCF meetings and LF meetings start out. And so, as contributors and maintainers, we are fostering an open and welcoming community, and just making sure that we're being kind to one another, raising our hands, not talking over one another. And we have the full code of conduct there, but for those that are new, if you want to come off mute and say hello, or otherwise just pop into chat hello. Also, Max had put into the notes or into the chat the notes, and so if you could put your name in for attending. And so we have the contributor code of conduct. We're welcoming everyone, and then we can get into probably into our open discussion. And I see Nikki on here. Well, first, let me pause. Who is new and who would like to introduce themselves?
Hello, everyone. My name is Luisa. I'm the community manager here at MeshCloud. I'm new, and I want to be making your company every 2 weeks because I'm super interested in the topic. Looking forward to meeting you all.
Great, welcome.
Hi, my name is Anita Wu. I am new as well. I work for RxM. We're a training and consulting firm for cloud native technologies. Normally, my colleague Chris Hansen is on this call, but I'm just subbing in for him because he's got a busy meeting today. So,
Well, welcome, and you're welcome anytime.
thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's I see some. I'll just go. Hi, my name's Shannon. Yeah, my first time here. I work for a company called Flex Advisors. Nico might have been here 2 weeks ago. If you met him, I work with him, and nice to meet you all.
Great to meet you, Shannon. Yes, definitely remember Nico. Anyone else before we go on?
I'll introduce myself even though most of you know me. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I feel very silly now. Hi, folks. My name is Leslie Hawthorne. I'm in Red Hat's open source program office, and I'm delighted to be here today to learn more about what Red Hat is doing with regards to sustainability. So thank you for letting me lurk and learn today.
Absolutely.
Nice. And for those who don't know, hi, I'm Tony. I'm back, baby. Hi, everybody.
Yay!
Yeah, my meeting schedule's crazy. I'm like quadruple booked at this time normally, but everything I canceled today. So I'm excited to be back and hear what you guys have been doing. And I work at Intel for other people with Marlo. So Marlo and I actually sync up like once a week on stuff. And she obviously leads this effort for us. So I just learn from her.
Good person to learn from. Okay, well, heading into, so we have 2 areas that are kind of new to the recurring topics. And one is around working groups. We have a proposal for a communications working group that I actually put forward. So we don't currently have any updates per se, but we will have more to come. And in the open discussion, let's talk about that proposal, and we can and have it open for comment over the next week or two. And in addition, we one of the parts of our charter is to make sure that we're collaborating with other parts of open source. And so one of those areas are the Green Software Foundation and then the GitOps Sustainability Group. I don't want to put you on the spot, Nikki, just because I know you were traveling, but if you did have an update from the GitOps Sustainability Group, which sits within the CNCF, just to, and Nikki is a part of. If you did have an update, then we would welcome it. And if not, then, no worries.
Yeah, so hi everyone, and to the newcomers, hi, welcome. I'm Nikki. The GitOps working group, which sits under the tag app delivery, I believe, has a little subgroup kind of SIG for sustainability. And as part of that, we've done a benchmark energy test using Kepler, which is really great tool for energy monitoring. And the voting for the sandbox application was just met the minimum number of votes to pass, so that's great. And last week, Al Hussein and we presented the results of those energy benchmark tests, and I'm going to attach a link to a PDF of it, but also when the recording is up, it would be awesome to talk through some of the results, answer any questions that people may have. But I think the recordings will be up on the 26th of May, so we have a bit of time. And I'll share a link.
Thank you.
In
And
the chat.
do we have Benoit on the line? I know that Marlo, or is Marlo on the line? Yes, Marlo.
Yep, I'm back.
Marlo, did you have any updates from GSF? I know they met today, but I had a meeting that overlapped.
They had also overlapping. I requested they come and start attending our meetings, and they have agreed.
Oh, they've agreed?
Yeah, they said they'd come.
Great.
But we have a half-hour overlap, so this first half hour is an overlap with their meeting.
Sure, okay. Do we have Benoit? I know Leo wasn't able to make. You're here, Benoit?
Hi, yeah. Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I apologize because I don't have your bio. So if you could introduce yourself. I know that Leo had set this demo up with you, and we're all really excited about learning more about Scaphandra. We were talking about it a lot at KubeCon, and I'm happy that we can have this demo this week, because I think we weren't able to last time. But yeah, if I'll stop sharing if you want, if I can hand it over to you, if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, okay, let's do that. So yeah, hi. My name is Benoit Petit. I'm one of the co-founders of Hublot, which is a consultancy company that's also developing open source software for helping with ICT, environmental impacts evaluation and reduction. So I guess the idea of this, do you see my screen right? Or?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. The idea of this time to discuss was to discuss about Scaphandra, as I understood. So maybe we would start with that. And if we are on track with the time, maybe I could take like 5 minutes to explain a bit more what we do more generally, because scaffold is one of the tools we work on. It's one of the approaches we have regarding those topics. So you tell me when we end up the discussion about scaffold if it's okay to discuss 5 minutes about what we do, namely in Boa Vista, which is an NGO working on ICT impacts evaluation. So yeah, let's start with scaffold. So I think it's not something very new to you, as you already work on power usage and energy monitoring matters, as I understood. I heard about Kepler, which is also another project in this area. But scaffold itself, what we could say is that so it's an open source project. You can find it on GitHub, of course. It has, let's say, the specificity to try to address multiple environments. So it has a structure where you have sensors on one side to gather different kind of energy and power data sources, and exporters on the other side, so you could expose those data in different ways. So what you can find in the documentation very quick is that you have several exporters so far. So one to export in JSON, another for Prometheus, another for Riemann, another just to have data in your terminal, another for WAP10. There is an exporter for QEMU KVM environments. So you could get energy metrics from the host and then propagate those metrics in the VMs. So then you could split that informations across all the processes you will find in the virtual machines. So you have the detail of what application is consuming what power in each virtual machine. And regarding the sensors, so far, there are 2 of them, one for Linux, the other one for Windows. And both are actually relying on RAPL, which is, I think you know RAPL, which is the, let's say, the way the CPU manufacturers give us to have access to power usage metrics. Here's a little drawing about how it works behind the scene. So if we take, for example, the Prometheus exporter, but you could use others. That's an example. You could have your Prometheus database and Grafana on top of it, and then depending on the platform you are on, today it works like that. So on Linux, Scaffold is interacting with the PowerCap kernel module. And on Windows, there was no such thing as the PowerCap kernel module, so we had to develop our own driver. But in the end, that's RAPL. So in the end, we are just reading data from MSR. So MSR are model-specific registries, so directly on the CPU. So that's also why using Scaffold means having access to the bare metal machine. And if you want to have power usage metrics from virtual machines, as I introduced before talking about the QEMU exporter, you need to have scaffold installed on the bare metal machine and installed inside the virtual machines, and the two have to communicate. So that's a thing, that's a question we have a lot on the project from contributors or users about how do I use scaffold in the cloud? Basic answer is you can't. So just to clarify that part. And if we look at, let's say, the metrics you could have with it, so that's a sample metric dashboard with Grafana and Prometheus behind the scene, with the power usage of a simple machine that's running some continuous integration. So of course you could get power usage, you could aggregate those power metrics as energy metrics just by selecting the time frame. And then you have power usage metrics for all the processes running on the machines. So if I look at, for example, this application, AWX, and if I zoom on the metrics, I realize that it's just an aggregation of the power usage of all the processes that are attached to this application, that are needed for this application to run. And so that's the basic idea. In the next version, so the 1.0, we will have much more system metrics and IT resources consumption metrics. So it's not a revolution, because there are many monitoring tools that give those metrics. It's just that we realize that many scaffold users are actually needing to have in the same way to get their IT resources consumption metrics and their energy metrics, so they can take conclusions from those informations and get some knowledge of how they could reduce their energy consumption and so on. So I don't think I have a much more detailed way to show you the tool as a simple introduction. So maybe if you have questions, or if you want to dig deeper in some topics, we could do that as a discussion, if that's fine for you.
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll open it up to questions.
Do you have or maybe I missed it. It sounds like you're taking advantage of things that vendors are putting out there right now, right? So like with RAPL and things like that on the CPU. Is there a way to help, or are hardware vendors already doing this to push hardware vendors to kind of put this type of support in by default? Do you feel like they're already doing it in a way that you can grab the metrics that we can then pass them through this?
You mean for environments where we wouldn't have things like RAPL?
Yeah, so I mean, like for instance, Intel, when we do our RAPL counters, I mean, it's best effort, right? I mean, we're exposing things that we have on our chips for our own debuggability, and then we say, okay, we expose them this way, and then therefore you can take advantage of them. I don't know if it's true, because I haven't investigated it. Is it true that other hardware vendors are also exposing things this way? So for example, as I look at other accelerators, whether it's NVIDIA, AMD, as we move into ASIC things, FPGAs, et cetera, all of these things contribute to system power. It'd be really great to track them all. Do we have a way to capture that data already? Is there some standard that we have? Or is it something where we need to consider trying to help, move people that direction?
There are other ways for GPUs, for NVIDIA GPUs. You have NVIDIA SMI, and I think the libraries are called NVML. So that's a pretty standard thing, as I understand it. That's something I don't think we will have it in the very next version, but maybe the next one, because the libraries are more or less already there, so it won't be too hard to integrate. But you have other environments and hardware where it's much more complicated, like for ARM CPUs, for example. As far as I know, you don't have something comparable to REPL on those platforms until recently, because I think there are some new interfaces available in the very new ARM CPUs generations, but I think it's very new and it's not widely available. I mean, on older CPUs. And there are other topics that are very lacking today in terms of manufacturers' data or data we would like to get from the very source. Like what we do realize in, especially in Boa Vista, where we work on those topics, is that, for example, energy consumption of hard drives, SSDs, is very overlooked. Sometimes you have machines where you get, so REPL is just about CPU and RAM, random access memory consumption. It's not about all the other components. Sometimes in machines that don't have a lot of hard drives, we already have differences of 3 times or 4 times the power consumption that REPL is reporting. I mean, the global power usage of the machine is sometimes way more than what REPL just gives us. And most of the time it's a lot because of the hard drives. So that's also something we would like to integrate in Scaffold, something like at least estimating the power usage of hard drives, even if we can't just get the metric somewhere. So it would involve a model or something. But yeah, so there are other things for NVIDIA GPUs. It seems that ARM CPUs may give some solution at some point, but this is really still partial knowledge of how a machine consumes power, because there are many components that are not covered and that will need a model or some estimation method so that we get the full picture.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, it's an area I used to run a team that did power tools for Intel, so that's why I was asking if there was anything broader. But yeah, that's a good answer. Appreciate it.
Is there any way that you can think that you would want contributions from us, or ways that we could collaborate with you?
Yeah, sure. If you mean direct contributions to Scaffold,
yeah,
everything is on the GitHub, and of course contributions are welcome. We have a chat on Gitter, I mean on Matrix, which is there. So everyone who would contribute and come to the chat would be very welcome. And maybe if there are no other specific questions right now, I can introduce to you how we see those topics in Boa Vista, because maybe I think if we want to collaborate more, the relationship between your group and Boa Vista may make some sense.
Yeah.
If that's fine for you. It shouldn't be too long, but
Does that work with everyone else? Yes. Okay. I got a thumbs up.
okay. So just sorry because I recycle a presentation we did in a German group focused on AI, but doesn't matter because the JD is there. So as an introduction, Boa Vista is an NGO based in France, and we gather together people from both the private sector, the public sector, researchers, universities, companies, and governmental agencies to try to, let's say, build a bit more clearer picture of what are the environmental impacts of ICT, how we could evaluate them, how we could reduce them, but let's say trying to mix both the environmental analysis approaches that already exist, namely life cycle assessment methodologies, and let's say the way we are used to measure stuff in the IT world, like with tools and metrology and so on. So I will pass that because I think you know all of this, but just to mention that we both work on tooling to evaluate impacts in a given context, but also on understanding the macro studies and the topic of environmental impacts in ICT. And for example, there is something we realized is that today when we talk about ICT environmental impacts, so for example, the figures that we see on and on about between 2 and 4% of greenhouse gas emissions in 2020, that kind of figures, they are incomplete because it's just about ICT as an economic sector, which means including data centers, networks, user devices, and the services layer on top of that. But it doesn't include, for example, ICT penetration in health sector, in transport sector, in, let's say, everything that's about smart fridges or smart everything. It's not included in those studies. So we start from the point where we realize we don't have a full understanding of what's the impact of ICT on the environment today. And another approach we have is that we talk about greenhouse gas emissions, CO2, methane, and so on. But we don't talk so much about the other impacts, and this could be critical because we hope for an ecological transition, let's say an energy transition. So we will need mining resources, but ICT is also consuming mining resources. So there is a conflict between what would be needed for the transition and what is needed to maintain ICT at the level it is today. So we try to have a multi-criteria approach of the impacts. If we take, for example, the planetary boundaries model, which is a model that tries to assess what level of resources consumption and different impacts we could have, at what level we should stay so that we don't end up in a dangerous situation for the population worldwide. And if we look at this model, I see, and sorry, I focus on the EU because most of the time I talk about this with EU people. So sorry if you're not in the EU, it's just an example. But ICT only on the EU perimeter already represents like 30% of what the EU should emit in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. It's already 35% of what how much water the EU should consume as maximum. And it's already 39% of the EU limit for mining resources, for example. So that's why we try to have this multi-criteria approach, not to just focus on carbon and lose track of the other important topics. And there is also another thing that we realize working this topic on, especially for ICT, is that in many cases, in ICT, we focus on environmental impacts of ICT usage. And for example, if I take Scaffold or other tools to measure energy consumption, that's something interesting, but it's still just about the impact of usage for maybe for cloud for some tools or for on-premise infrastructure for other tools. If we look at the perimeter, we are missing all the other aspects of the impacts of an ICT service, for example. So we try to have this global approach as well in terms of perimeter and in terms of steps of the life cycle of an ICT service or machine. That's the idea. So this I think you know, and we try to have multi-criteria, multi-step evaluation methods. So we don't lose part of the impact, lose track of part of the impact. So I will accelerate a bit, but multi-criteria, as I said, is important also to avoid pollution shifts. Like we could improve, we could reduce the greenhouse gas emissions of an ICT service, for example, but maybe we have made it worse in terms of mining resources consumption. Yeah, I saw a hand.
So we just have probably maybe like 2 more minutes.
Yeah, okay, I landed there. And so we base, in Boa Vista, we base all our methodology, all our tools and working groups on the lifecycle assessment methodology that respects those 2 aspects, so multi-steps, multi-criteria. And if you want to see what kind of tool we work on, there is let's say a web demonstration at this address, that Data Vista, where you can have multi-step, multi-criteria evaluation of the impact of manufacturing a server, for example. Yeah, and that's it. And so maybe if you want to have an idea of what I'm talking about, on the Boa Vista website, you have the list of the tools we are working on, and we also have here things like that are based on the API we develop to get, as I said, multi-step and multi-criteria impacts of both manufacturing and usage of a server or an AWS instance, that kind of thing. And everything is open source and on GitHub if you want to contribute or ask questions or anything.
We do have a question from Marlo. Are you on mute, Marlo? Okay, she's in the chat. Let's see. Are you able to see that, Benoit?
Yeah, about renewable energy.
Yeah.
So we, Boavista, are not taking this into account because, indirectly we are, because the impact factor we use, for example, for carbon intensity of electricity, they do include aspects like manufacturing or end of life of means to produce the electricity. But that's not what we work on ourselves. We are really only focused on ICT. But yeah, you are right. It's when we talk about multi-step evaluation of impact, it's also true for electricity production means. We can just say when I have a solar panel, for example, capturing some energy, it's carbon free because we had to manufacture it at some point. And so we should include the impact of manufacturing and redistribute it on the life cycle of the solar panel. So I'm 100%, I agree with what you said. And on our side, it means selecting the right carbon intensity data regarding electricity when we do the evaluations. Don't know if it's clear or not. And maybe I will stop sharing because I guess I'm over time, but I am happy to answer questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Benoit. We really appreciate it. And they're in the notes, but then I also popped into chat the GitHub to be able to contribute. And actually, Benoit, do you mind putting into chat the website you just shared, the data, that site?
Yeah, sure. Maybe
Thank
that.
you. Okay, we have a lot of items to talk about, but a lot of them were with led by Leo. The one that I'll pop the into chat, the working group. So we've talked over a couple of meetings about the need for, what do we do with our conference material, in prepping for conferences, our website, obviously through the last couple weeks have been talking, or months have been talking about a blog process and blog contribution. Emily was able to give some clarity around what the CNCF, Emily Fox was able to give some clarity around what is required from a blog process. So that is something to be to take into account. But the goal is to have a working group focused on comms, and so that then that can free up this group or this meeting so that we can have more guest presenters like Benoit, so we can talk about more of that collaboration opportunities. And obviously there would be an update around comms, but their actual work would be able to be done in this working group. And it would be a separate session from this meeting. And so I do have, I put it into chat, and I'll put it into Slack as well over the next 2 weeks. So between now and the next meeting that we have, if you could just +1 or give ideas around preferences as to how you'd like to see the working group be formed, but just show your support or your not support for a working group that would be separate from this time, but focused specifically on communications and marketing, so that we can get that nailed down. Especially, we are coming off of KubeCon, but EU, but we have QCon North America right around the corner, plus a slew of other events that are happening that we want to make sure that we get in front of so that we have enough enablement materials. I think Open Source Summit North America is a great example of making sure that we have some templates already in place, especially if you're doing something in your own region that might not necessarily be on the scale of a Linux Foundation conference. So while we are talking about it, I mean, does anyone have any immediate thoughts or visceral reactions around the working group, or anything that they would like to share? Okay, it's a quiet day. That's okay. How about this? Leo can you share? Oh, sure, absolutely, Shannon. Let me put that into. It's in the Cloud Native, just because I'm going to say it out loud. It'll be faster than me just doing it, but I will put it in the chat. It's in the Cloud Native CNCF channel, but it's tag environmental sustainability is the area. Here we go. And a lot happens in Slack. If you're not able to use Slack based on your organization, I will put it in the, we all need to be better about using the email list as well. So I'll put in the email list, and then we also have it in Slack. But the idea would be, especially as summer's coming and we have ideally a little bit of downtime, that we can get that organized, because the fall will ramp up soon. And looking at the doc, I feel like I said, a lot was around what Leo had positioned and Max. And so I want to make sure that there's quorum to talk about what they are proposing. So if you all are okay with it, I'd like to give a little bit of time back, but if you have any questions okay, good, Shannon. If you have any questions or anything that you want to bring up, now's the time. Silence is golden. I think everyone needs an extra snack or bio break. And I say go for it. Okay, have a good day, or have a green day. Until next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.